I'm Dan, and this is 10,000 Hours of Indie, a podcast exploring new music and delving deeper into what goes on in the background of the independent music industry. I've been a musician and passionate music lover for as long as I can remember, and spent a stupid amount of time listening to mostly new music every week. Get involved and help grow this community. Follow on socials, Instagram, Blue Sky, Facebook, and soon a YouTube channel too, and email me, 10,000indie@gmail.com. If you have any ideas or want to get involved in the podcast itself, I'd love to hear from you. Zoé Basha is a folk singer-songwriter based in Ireland with French-American origins who spends much of her time touring. Her debut album, Gamble, was self-released in April to much praise, including a very positive review in The Guardian. Currently finishing up a tour in Europe, Zoé has pulled up on her way home to have a chat with 10,000 Hours of Indie about the album. Hello, Zoé. Great to have you on the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I know you've been really busy since the album was released, so thanks for giving us some of your time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've just come to the end of your European tour. How has it been?
It has been hectic and a load of fun. We've been moving around as a four-piece, and we did 3 weeks in Ireland and 13 dates. I didn't know that was possible to do 13 dates in Ireland in such a short time. We got through it. That was really, really great, especially the album launch in the Sugar Club in Dublin was probably one of the most magic moments of my life. And then we just did 3 weeks across France and Belgium.
Fantastic.
And we loved every second of it. Yeah, the four of us hadn't toured together before, and it went really well. And there was a bit of time off too, so we got to go to the beach and do other things.
I did see a picture of you doing an interview or social media on the beach with your laptop in front of you on Instagram.
Yeah, that was a funny one.
I checked out your stage plot and I love the stickmen pictures.
Oh, thank you. I'm very proud of that.
So there's been an amazing reaction to the album so far, including a very, very good Guardian review naming Gamble as Folk Album of the Month. How did that make you feel?
That was huge. I wasn't expecting it, and yeah, it was great. And it was funny because the woman who wrote it, Jude Rogers, just writes about loads of great musicians. And yeah, that was huge for me. She's based in the UK, so I thought it was the Guardian UK. And then my little brother lives in the States, and he messaged me and he's like, "Congrats, Zoe, you did it." And I was like, "Nah, it's only the Guardian UK." And he's like, "No, it's everywhere." Oh my God. So that was, that was huge. That felt really, really good and really kind of, validating. And also just to be alongside loads of other amazing musicians who have gotten that feels great.
Yeah, there were a few bigger folk artists released their album that month as well, so it's quite prestigious. Loved or hated maybe after that. So you've been around doing this for sort of 10 years or so, and I know you have a couple of other musical projects, but how come it's taken you so long to release a solo album?
I actually wasn't doing music for a lot of that time. I played music and sang a lot as a kid and as a teenager, and then I stopped doing music probably when I was about 19. I never stopped. I played, but I stopped doing music professionally, just because I thought it wasn't useful for the world and there were more useful things to do. And I was involved in community organizing stuff, and then studied traditional French timber framing and worked as a timber framer. I was writing songs every once in a while, but not loads and not really to go on an album. And then in 2020, we started a trio called Rufus Nightjar with two Irish buddies. And I think through that project and sort of the success of that, I was like, maybe music is possible, and it's sure of a hell of a lot of fun. I just decided to start assembling the bits of songs and produce something.
Tell us a little bit about your musical background. You say you took time out, but sort of where have you come from in the music psyche? Did your parents sort of introduce you to music and it stemmed from there, or?
Not loads. Neither of my parents are musicians, and as a kid in Florida, we kind of grew up with my mom listening to sort of what was on the radio. I mean, it was some quality stuff. There was like a lot of Whitney Houston and Nora Jones, which was definitely influential. But then it was mixed with like Matchbox 20 and Nickelback, you know?
Ooh, you've mentioned the band nobody's meant to mention.
I mean, I'll be honest, it was there. But so I don't think the musical education came hugely from my parents, but I was just really excited about singing since I could talk, and that's what I always wanted to do. And then I ended up going to a secondary school for music. It was an arts high school, and I studied classical singing there. And that's also where I had already kind of gotten into folk and blues music, but that's where I got into jazz and jazz technique a bit. And then I ended up going to college at Berklee College of Music just for a year, sort of focusing on jazz and blues. But at that time, I was really turned off by the industry focus at school. I was like, that's not why I'm doing music. That's not what music's for. So I dropped out and started traveling and playing music on the street. And I was like, I'll do music this way. And then I came to Ireland when I was 19 and I got sort of focused on traditional music and traditional singing. And that brought me to different places too.
Okay.
That mix.
Yeah, most of it was in America that you sort of started building things.
Yeah, I guess the start of the build was there. And then the traditional music rabbit hole started in Ireland. Then I moved to France for a while, especially while I was doing timber framing. And there was a lot of what we call the traditional timber framing media kind of network is really connected to the trad music network and what we call the bal trad. So it's like traditional balls where people will be doing partner dances together. So then I got influenced by Occitan music and kind of music that was there. Anyway, yeah, it was a lot of traveling and a lot of soaking up what was around me.
That's the best way, I think. This may sound a bit of a silly question, but your style sounds very natural. How much work has that taken?
At like work to get to that style?
Yeah, kind of, because there's so much, as you say, you've got so much influence of so many various things, but you sound so breezy when you do it. It's, it's obviously taken work to get there. Has it felt like work, or have you naturally got there?
I think because I'm influenced by so many styles, the coming together of them sort of made it what it is. And then probably a lot of playing music in the street, you sort of keep playing it and playing it and playing it, and then it kind of becomes something. But also on that album, there were really skilled musicians that played on it that are a huge part of the style of the kind of end results. And one of those is the keys player is a guy named Alton Lavery. And I spent over the years, like at different times I was living in New Orleans and I got really into early jazz. And I'd been looking for a long time for a keys player that played that kind of early jazz. In Ireland, there's not so many that are specifically playing that kind of jazz. And this guy does just that. And he's really good at it. And so I found him and I was like, I'll never let you go. And we did a lot of practicing. The whole band, actually, we did a residency before the album to kind of perfect the arrangements and figure out who was giving space to who when and what sort of sounds we were looking for at different parts in the songs. And that time spent with those musicians is a huge part of how it sounds now.
Yeah. What genre would you consider yourself?
Oh my God, I got to choose one?
Or come up with one that doesn't exist yet.
It's called... I don't know. I generally say it's sort of country, jazz, blues stuff, but genres are a mix of other genres anyway, or are influenced by them. And I think Americana is kind of a good word to sort of sum up a lot of those genres together. But it's funny being an Americana artist in Ireland because I've been out of the States since I was a teenager. And so it's a bit funny calling it that, but I guess, yeah, either Americana or country, jazz, blues, or folk. You know, folk is a huge umbrella.
I hear the folk coming through more, so I think it depends what ears you're listening with, I guess.
Yeah.
So the whole album is great, but I particularly love the song Worried. To me, the music sort of tells its own story, although obviously the lyrics are great too. It's got the sort of melancholy structure and lyrics before breaking into the contrast of upbeat, almost honky-tonk piano section. I love a song that goes where I'm not expecting it to go, basically.
Nice.
Would there be one song on the album you could single out to represent the album to a first-time listener? This is the question everyone hates.
Just choose one. As like a gateway drug, can we call it that?
Exactly. That's a great way of I'm going to use that term for it in future. Yeah.
Like that, it doesn't have to be all representing, but it's a good gateway drug. Yeah, I think maybe Dublin Street Corners is kind of an easy one to ease you in. It's got a sort of country style, but it's also got that switching tempos in the middle of it. And I think a few people have told me, I think it's that like minor 5 change for the music nerds, the minor 5 change in the chorus, that people are like, oh, that part, it moves me. And I think that's really effective when a song makes you feel something really strong. So maybe that one might get people looking for the other stuff too.
That's a good call. I love the lyrics of that song. You self-released this album. Judged on what you've said earlier, was that a conscious decision? Did you decide you didn't want to take this to a label, or was it just circumstance, or
a desperate decision? Both. Because I think I'd stopped music for so long, and then I got back into it. I decided I was going to put out this album, and I was like, I don't know if I'll ever put one out again, but at least I want to put this one out, and then sure, we'll see what happens. I thought about going to different labels, and I made a list of labels at one point. I was thinking about contacting them, but there's so much to do in creating an album, and then post-production, and then releasing it, and then promo. And I was just thinking, it's my first album. Who knows if I'll make another one, but I want to get it out there, and it could take months more or a year more, or who knows how long, if I start contacting labels and seeing what kind of offers there are and what they want out of it. And I was just like, I want to get this out and have it out and then see what happens.
No, that's a good call. I've actually done the bulk of the questions, I think, unless I've missed some. Hang on. Oh, I should ask you about because obviously you live in Ireland now, but there's the French-American link in there. What's your background?
Well, so my father's French, my mother's American, and I kind of grew up sort of between the two, and then did a lot of traveling, and then just kept going back to Ireland. And at one point, I was living in the south of I'd lived in Ireland for a few years, and then moved to a collective land project in the south of France, and I love the sun. I grew up mostly in the sun, and I love it. And because I'm actually down again now in the south of France today, but when I was down here before, I told myself I'd never go back to living in the rain. And it was too depressing. I'll never do it again. And then a few years later, I started doing music again, and I came back, and I realized that I have really close friends there that I've made and that I've known now since I was a teenager. And that means a lot. I think different people have different things that are important to them, or that are central to them in life, that they need. That they prioritize. And for me, it's the humans. And it's funny, having spent most of my adult life in Ireland, it's a lot of who I am now, whether I like it or not. And so it feels like home. And sometimes that's hard to remember when it's gray for 9 days without any sun.
Hey, I'm in Finland. We can have no sun for a month and a half or 2 months in the winter. It's a nightmare. But yeah. I'm still here, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, I think, and maybe that'll change at some point in life, and something else will be more important. But it's been a while now that the humans are really important to me, so keeps me there.
Do you think the Irish music scene also keeps you there, because the kind of music you're doing is very popular in Ireland, and I guess there's a lot of musicians around who complement what you're doing in Ireland as well?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, I think because it's such a mix of genres, it probably depends on, like I was saying, it was hard to find a pianist who plays the kind of music that I was looking for. And I maybe should have gone to New Orleans if I was trying to make that easy. But I'm definitely I'm really happy with the musicians that I found. There's a more sort of cultural thing about music being everywhere, and that we know about and we talk about all over the world. But you walk into a pub and there's music, and sometimes it's a gig, but sometimes it's a session where you can add to it what you want. and that feels really good. And it's not just in pubs. Sometimes it's in pubs, but it's also, if we're having a really good time, it means we'll end up in somebody's sitting room or somebody's kitchen afterwards, and the session will continue until the wee hours of the morning. And that's kind of not all the time, but that's not unusual. And that being a sort of cultural norm, feels really good and feels really right. And so that probably helps with doing music in Ireland in general.
So what's coming up next? You've just finished the European tour, but you've got a few shows during the summer festival season. What have you got planned?
There's a few festivals. There's it's called When Next We Meet, is in Clonmel next week. Time is moving so fast. And then there's another festival called Festival in a Van that's sort of moving around Fingal, and there's kind of little bits coming up here and there. There's the High Road sessions on Inishbofin. They're sort of scattered. And then we have a gig or two in Scotland in August, and then stuff that's still in the works for autumn and winter, and currently working on booking a North American tour. Hopefully with a booking agent, because I've learned it's really difficult it's a lot of work booking a tour by yourself. So I'm hoping to kind of branch out and be working with professionals in different fields that can help. So I'm not doing it all by myself, because there's a lot to do. But hopefully North America at some point, and maybe Folk Alliance International in New Orleans in January. Loads of bits. Keep it going forever. We'll see.
Fantastic. So your Instagram's very active.
After you say that, I'm always like, fuck, I should really post something else. I should do more.
Well, you've got a lot of stories that you've posted during the tour.
That's true. I have gotten good at the stories. Instagram is kind of new to me. So I didn't have a smartphone until 3 years ago. I was a Luddite and I was not about the tech. And then when I decided to do music professionally, I was like, all right, you got to get on this. So I'm still figuring out the little bits, but I really appreciate you saying that. Thanks.
Well, I've been impressed, but then I've only been following you since the album came out, so it doesn't matter before that. I don't know what happened before. So yes, you've got your Instagram, you're on Facebook, I checked earlier, and you have a website as well. So I guess if I post a link to the website, everybody can find the links from there.
That would be great. Yeah, and if people want to follow me on Spotify, that would be huge. Being an independent artist means it kind of feels like you're doing a lot of self-promotion, which doesn't really feel great. But then, I don't know, you're making music, and if it's decent music, you want people to hear it anyway. But for independent artists, it's huge when people follow us on Spotify and then follow us on social media. So, that would be great.
Great. Okay. Well, the new album, Gamble, is out now. Thanks for the chat, Zoe. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much for having me.
The album is fantastic, and I hope it's the first of many, because I really want to hear more stuff already.
Thanks.